There is a place that is spoken about only in whispers, a dark area that spawns the beginnings of urban legends, a place where anything can happen and usually does. During the light of day, it hides just outside of view, but when the sun goes down, spirits, creatures of the night, roam free, and things do go bump in the night. It is in every state and every country, and there is no escaping it, no matter how safe you feel behind your locked doors and latched windows. So we invite you to turn down the lights and turn up your radio while we join Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis, your hosts, on a journey into the darkness on the edge of town.
Hello and welcome to a brand new week here on Beyond the Darkness. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. Along with me, back where he belongs, Mr. Tim Dennis. Hey, Tim, good to have you back.
Hiya.
How you feeling?
Oh, I'm all right.
Good?
Yeah.
Everything going well? Well, of course it is.
Sure.
You're on this side of the ground. We want to welcome all of our listeners, and we want to welcome mothers especially, with a special Mother's Day thank you to all of you who tune in and share your wealth of knowledge and your unyielding amount of love with your children, and for sharing Darkness Radio and Beyond the Darkness with your families. We appreciate you and appreciate our moms. And I also want to say thank you to all of the listeners who've reached out to me, knowing this was a tough one. Today is the exact 6-month date since my mom passed away. And this was the first Mother's Day without her. And there were so many beautiful emails and postings and concern for me. I just want you to know it did not go unnoticed or unfelt. It really meant a lot to me and my children. So thank you all for that. We appreciate it. You got to take your mom out to Cracker Barrel.
I did take my mom.
Could you be any more Minnesotan?
Well, you know, here's the deal. And a lot of people may say, Tim, that's pretty shallow. You took your mom to Cracker Barrel. But actually, Cracker Barrel has some very good family memories for us. So,
well, what's shallow? Cracker Barrel is one of the best, grocery, one of the best restaurants out there.
But people say, well, it's kind of a cheap alternative to take your mom to Cracker Barrel.
Nope.
But, you know, as opposed to one of the more expensive buffets. But
blah, 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 blah.
But it's kind of where we gone for, like family breakfast on the weekends. And it's
Dude,
kind
Cracker
of
Barrel rocks.
Oh,
My
I
mom loved
food.
Cracker Barrel.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I love their food.
Well, happy Mother's Day to Jackie Johnson, Tim's mom, as well. Thank you for the excellent work you did with this guy, this hunk of clay over here.
I was no picnic, that's for sure.
Hey, this is what our week is shaping up to look like, Tim. I know you're over there having man sweats over this. Tomorrow,
A little bit.
From the WWE, Raven will be on air with us. I cannot wait to talk to him about starting off as a middle-class black girl on The Cosby Show
Dave,
and turning into one of the world's most famous WWE wrestlers.
Yeah, that's not exactly how Raven.
He's got his podcast on Jericho Network.
Right.
That's So Raven.
Where
he uses his psychic abilities to solve crimes. Tim, I don't know if you're familiar with this.
That's not how it goes, Dave. No, that's not how the story starts and ends. No.
Well. But he's going to actually talk about conspiracies.
Yeah.
And he is deep into this stuff.
Oh, yes.
And a dismisser of others. I want to talk to him about that. Why say this is easy to dismiss and this is not?
You know, what's funny is he's deep into Lloyd Pye's book, but yet would look at you if you're a flat earther and say, no, you're a jerk, you are.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out about that.
Yeah.
Then Wednesday, Tim, Paul Adams will join us. We're going to talk about the enigma of Rosalie, Harry Price's paranormal mystery revisited. This is a really freaky case that Harry Price was called in on, and he was one of the OG, the original Ghostbusters out there. He would go out and he would investigate these claims, these seance claims and poltergeist claims, and the enigma of Rosalie was a little girl's ghost that was making a regular appearance and had startling results. They were able to really document this case. But there are some very strange twists and turns. We'll talk about that on Wednesday. Thursday, Nick Redfern is back talking about startling twists and turns, Tim. Secret societies, histories, rites, and rituals. That's what we will discuss on Thursday. And then Friday, Avia Bell Moon, I hope I'm saying that name properly, will join us on the show. And we've got a brand new Theater of the Mind. But she's going to talk to us about her book, Spiritland. And we'll talk to her. She's had too numerous to even mention in an email to me, Tim, but just gave me a couple of highlights.
Really?
She's received phone calls, text messages left on her answering machine, EVPs, letters written in steamy windows, and the list just goes on and on. The spirit world is definitely trying to get her attention. So we're going to talk about that on Friday, and we'll have a very interesting, in the case of Mother's Day week, we're going to have a very interesting Theater of the Mind for my own family, Tim.
Oh.
Yes. So stay tuned for that. That's what's on tap this week. Also, tomorrow, Tim, we have a brand new True Crime Tuesday. Lords of the Harvest, a true crime investigative memoir. Our guest, T.A. Powell, has done exhaustive work and research. This is a 700-page book, Tim.
700 pages?
Yes, TA has gone in to take a look at some of these unbelievable crimes, these murders that have happened, and found a startling conclusion. She has been able to connect 4 people that work together but separately and may be involved in some of the most notorious murders in our history.
Wow.
Yes. That is on True Crime Tuesday. How can you listen to True Crime Tuesday? Well, where the hell have you people been? We've been talking about it for a month now.
Come on.
True Crime Tuesday is available again, and it's available through Patreon. You can get it for $5 a month. That's only $1.25 per episode. That's 90 minutes to 120 minutes every week delivered directly to you. And do you know there's a Patreon app, so you can actually take it with you on the road? On your phone, your smartphone, your tablets, your devices, get the Patreon app, and you can listen to the show and stream it right from there as you would any other podcasting show, Tim. The $5, just so people understand again, goes to help pay the administrative costs of doing all of the podcasts that we work on, because there is overhead, production, editing, guests, and more that go into the work on these shows. And we're using this to try to offset. So if you would like to sign up, we'd love to have you. Mm-hmm. And it's an exclusive club. We're now around 650 members that have signed up. Let's keep building on that. And we're also going to be adding to the end of Tuesday's regular shows on Beyond the Darkness a snippet from the True Crime Tuesday show. So if you didn't hear it last week, go back and check True Crime Tuesday, or check our regular Tuesday show here on Beyond the Darkness. And at the end, we added about, what was it, like a 3 or 4 minute clip?
Yeah. Yep.
And fascinating stuff. It'll give you a little taste of what's going on in that episode.
Yep.
So I hope you'll check that out and join us. It's supernatural news and Parashare. And boy, we had some mixed reviews on last week's Margarita Monday. For those of you that aren't familiar with the story, again, a year ago, completely by accident, when we were pre-recording our Cinco de Mayo show. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, it was not our Cinco de Mayo show. We were at the studio on Cinco de Mayo.
Right, yeah.
Recording our Monday show, and they kept feeding us margaritas.
Yeah, they had
very, very strong margaritas.
They had free booze.
And we didn't realize the trouble we were in.
No. I mean, but, you start drinking and you know.
So we got a little loose on that episode. People loved it and have been begging us for more Margarita Monday episodes. I don't think we should do more than one a year.
Yeah, that's it.
We did one again on Cinco de Ocho this last Monday. Yeah. Had a fun time with it, if I recall properly. I don't remember much, but we had a good time. We had a lot of people that enjoyed it, and we're happy to hear the return of Margarita Monday, and many people who were very upset. And I couldn't believe to what depths some of the anger rose from, Tim.
I don't know why.
And the weird, and what I loved are the ones that are coming out. I'm a huge fan. We love your show and everything you guys do. But you suck. You should both die after that episode. If I had you here, I would whip you, open you, put red ants inside your bodies, sew them back up. And I can't wait to hear next week's episode. It's really strange emails we get. Very strange emails we get on the show. But we're back to business as normal. And I had some people pissed off that I did not read stories last week from our listeners. And listen, we're riding a thin line when we read people's stories.
Yeah.
Because people already think we're being dismissive and rude. Right. We're not. We have fun with the news stories because some of them are just goofy. When we read the paranormal, the Parashare stories, we want to give you the respect that is due. It doesn't mean it doesn't make us laugh and we haven't lost it on air a few times.
Sure.
But we want you to know that we love you and we respect that you took the time to write these stories to us. So I didn't think it was a fair service to be inebriated and reading somebody's story. Now, it could have been funny as hell.
Right.
But I thought that would be disrespectful to the people who, in some cases, we're the only person they've ever shared their stories with.
Right.
So I hope that gives you some perception into why we did it that way. But we've got a lot of great stories to share this week, and we've got a lot of great parashare. Let's begin with supernatural news. Timothy, where are we going first?
Let me just state this. It could have been worse, people. We could have been drunk and had Raven with us, and we could have let him shoot on you for 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah. I wonder what he really thought of the whole Cosby case while he was on the show, if he ever saw that for himself.
We'll ask him on Tuesday.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He's going to punch me in the mouth.
We'll ask him if he ever got served at Cosmopolitan.
Cosmopolitan. You're horrible. Where are we going for paranormal news?
We're going to talk about creepy dolls, Dave, as long as the snowflakes out there are all offended.
Okay.
Let's get them creeped out with some possessed blue-eyed dolls, shall we?
Sure.
Yeah. They're wandering the house at night and scratching children as they sleep in a family's living nightmare, Dave. A living nightmare, Dave.
What? Scratching their children?
Yeah. Really?
What?
I don't know. Kids scratch themselves in their sleep all the time. How do you know?
But there's a difference, because if you're laying there and all of a sudden you feel something lance you open, there's a difference. And where are the scratches? If they're in the middle of the back, you are so negative.
Well, what if it's the two kids sleeping?
Well, let's hear what the story said.
Bed?
What kind of weird family did you grow up in?
Listen, I slept in a bed of hangers.
That's
I'll
true.
do the wire hangers, and it could have been the
true,
wire
John boy.
hangers that scratched me.
All right, what's
the
this story?
Nunez family claims that a small blonde Sarita knocks things over and causes weird sounds and lights to appear in their home. It's an alien baby doll, I guess. A family claims that a possessed blue-eyed doll wanders their house at night and scratches their children while they sleep. The Nunez family says a creepy blonde doll named Sarita is causing paranormal activities to occur and is awakening the spirit of a family member who killed herself years ago. The family, who lives in El Callao, Peru. Callao, ladies and gentlemen. I spent all weekend announcing luchador names, so I feel I know this one. Said they see strange lights and hear weird noises in the house, and bizarre scratches appear on their children. The strange goings-on started 7 years ago when the nephew of Mum Yvonne, gave her the blonde blue-eyed doll dubbed the Peruvian Annabelle.
The Peruvian Annabelle. That sounds like a luchador wrestling
She actually
name.
wrestled in
Ladies
IWI.
and gentlemen, please welcome to the ring the
Peruvian
Annabelle.
She actually wrestled this past weekend. Yvonne and her 3 children claimed during the night that they leave the doll in a corner of a room, but in the morning she is moved to a table and can be found sitting on the furniture. When pushed, they claim that she makes a sound as if she is praying.
Oh my God, please don't push me to the floor. Madre de Dios.
One of the children, 18-year-old Steven, said that he usually wakes up with bruises and scratches for unknown reason. It's probably because your parents hate you and beat you in your sleep, Steven. Just saying. His 20-year-old sister, Angie, claims she often hears strange noises in the middle of the night. Like
Angie!
Like Mick Jagger singing to her.
Angie!
I mean, like knocking on the door or the wardrobe 3 times.
Knock 3 times on the wardrobe if you'll dress me.
But there is no one there. No one there, Dave. Every night I feel as though somebody is looking at me from the corner of the room, said Rockwell. No, actually it was Angie who said that. The family decided to ask a medium to investigate the case and contacted angel expert Soraya de Los Angeles, who visited their home. She cleansed the house, and dozens of strange lights like circles appeared there as she did so. Soraya also walked around the house during the ritual and claimed also to have detected the presence of a mysterious woman in one of the rooms. According to Yvonne...
Hey, get out!
According to that was Senior Wences, actually, who was actually at the home to help.
He's very nice. I appreciate.
Help get rid of the spirit. According to Yvonne, she is her sister-in-law who killed herself in that exact same spot. The angel expert also said that she felt an evil presence inside the doll that wants to hurt the family. She did a cleansing ritual in order to protect the house and to make spirits leave, and left 7 candles in the living room. And there you be.
That is a creepy-ass looking doll. I sent that link over to Zach Bagans.
Yep.
I told him you need this for your Museum of Mystery and Wonder.
Ah, yeah.
Yes.
And what did he say?
I'm busy filming. Can you please stop bothering me? The restraining order is pretty clear, Dave.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did.
And you did. You left him alone, or you sent him the doll?
No, I left him alone.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's probably for the best if there's a restraining order. Just saying. A black-eyed kid ghost is staring into a house in the middle of the night, and it's recorded by a paranormal investigator. Finally, somebody got brave enough to record one of these little black-eyed bastards.
What? Tell me more.
A paranormal investigator claims to have found evidence of a black-eyed kid ghost haunting his property. Finally. A U.S.-based YouTube channel called Fantastic Daily has uploaded a video that purports to show the chilling specter staring into a property in the middle of the night. The ghost hunter sets up a laptop with a camera to record his porch, and after a few nights, he claims to have recorded a video that appears to show the face of a child or teenager staring into his home. No room on where his hands were. Kidding. I love that punchline. The man who uploaded the video even claims he reported the incident to the police. He said he woke up soon after when he heard movement outside his property. In the video, he says, whoever or whatever that is, it stood there for over an hour before disappearing. He is seen reviewing the footage and saying, I can't believe that worked. That's a real black-eyed kid. That's a real effing black-eyed kid.
What was the bait he used? Twinkies and McRibs? How do you get the black-eyed kid in?
Actually, it was a laptop with a bunch of porn on it. That's what he used. Yeah,
that's weird.
I don't think he had bait per se. Some viewers were terrified of the spooky clip. One commenter said, "Are you insane? Why would you chase this? It's terrifying."
Yeah.
However, not everyone was convinced by the chilling clip. Another commenter wrote that quote-unquote thing was probably a drunk lady.
Could be.
Somebody needs glasses. Black-eyed kids are an urban legend about children whose eyes are entirely black and who enter vehicles and homes. That's the official comment from the person who wrote the article.
Okay.
And that's the name of that tune.
Interesting. Would you bait one in? Would you, if you knew there was one out there and you wanted conclusive proof, Tim?
Well,
you had your camera going. You know, if you leave the door open, it's going to wander in. But we're still not exactly sure what happens when we let them in. Would you do that?
Dave, speaking as a master baiter, I say that I would potentially lure one in.
Didn't mean you didn't think that one through.
Oh, what do you mean?
Yeah, that term you used.
That I officially, as a masturbator?
Yeah, I think you're thinking of like baiting something and you're so good at it.
Right, I am.
Yeah, that also means to pleasure one's self.
What?
Yes. Look it up. That's on the Urban Dictionary.
I would never do that before luring one in.
Your salad.
What?
Yeah, confused me. I thought somebody was just making me a good salad.
That's what I thought, too. I enjoy a good tossed salad.
No. Well, that I've always wondered about you, but no. No. Look it up, kids. It's interesting. Dirty Sanchez. Have you ever heard of those?
Well, yeah. He's a guy who used to work with them at the car wash.
That's not true.
No?
He was clean.
Dirty Sanchez is not?
No. The Upper Decker. There's a bunch of weird poop
Well, I used to hit a bunch of those.
Our buddy Jeff Belanger has shared with me over the years, and I'm still shell-shocked.
I used to hit Upper Deckers in baseball.
No, not the kind they're talking about. All right, what's your next one for us?
This one is an audio daily double, Dave, and probably the most sent to our Facebook and social media pages story of the week, because I ain't know nothing about proper English.
Okay.
A preserved child was found in a glass coffin under a San Francisco home, and it's been identified. Let's now go to the audio, shall we? This from Fox 2.
A Bay Area mystery that dates all the way back to the 1870s. Authorities have now been able to identify the little girl who was found in a sealed coffin underneath a home in San Francisco a year ago today. She had no name, and little was known about her background or her history, but her preserved body left behind a number of clues.
Now, as KTVU's Mike Meback reports, after months of research, we now know the little girl's name, and a descendant has been found.
The story of the small glass cast iron casket began in the 1870s. Location, San Francisco's Oddfellows Cemetery.
It was right down here.
140 years later, last May, the story came back. A construction crew at the home on Rossi Street near the University of San Francisco found the sealed casket. Inside, a little girl, long blonde hair, long white lace dress, and a cross made of flowers right there on her chest. She was nicknamed Miranda Eve. Well, now we know her real name.
Her real name is Edith Howard Cook.
Lisa Davey, a genealogist and founder of the Garden of Innocence Project, reburied the little girl in Colma last year. Davey says she was also determined to discover the real story, her history, including the date of her death, a date we now know, October 13th, 1876. When you say her name, how does it make you feel?
Makes you want to cry. We worked so hard to find her, and it's been 11 months. It breaks your heart, but then you're so happy that you get to give her name back, because a human being deserves a name.
Davey says that she looked through thousands of burial records, dug up old street maps, and compared them with old maps of the cemetery, and finally, a family plot was found.
The positioning of the map put the Cook family right in the backyard, along with Edith, and then her father and her mother. So good to finally meet you.
This week, for the very first time, Davey met UC Davis professor Yelmer Erkins. With a name and a family tree in hand, the anthropologist began looking for a living relative and found a candidate.
We contacted that person, got a saliva sample from him.
At the same time, the professor and his team were doing DNA tests on strands of Edith Cook's hair.
And then, in the end, we found out that it was, then we were confident enough to say, 99.9% certainty that it's a relative of this particular person.
82-year-old Peter Cook of Marin County said in a statement he was beaming ear to ear upon hearing he is the grandnephew of little Edith Cook. And you'll keep these.
Yeah.
Professor Erkin says part of the research found that Edith died of marasmus, severe undernourishment.
It's likely that she was sick from some type of disease and at some point stopped, her body couldn't, her immune system wasn't developed enough to be able to combat the disease. And so she stopped eating and probably went into, coma and then eventually passed away.
The coffins from the Oddfellows Cemetery were moved to Colma around 1930. Somehow Edith Cook was left behind. And as the current homeowners there tell Elisa Davey, they often hear her.
They would put their two little girls to bed, and then they'd hear running feet upstairs, and they go, okay, who's out of bed? And they'd go up there, and the girls were sound asleep.
Davey says the headstone with Miranda Eve etched into it will soon be removed. The new one will go in its place.
It'll say Edith Howard Cook. It'll say her birthday and her death date, and it's going to say one little verse from Amazing Grace, which was, I once was lost, but now I'm found.
A San Francisco mystery solved. The story of a San Francisco girl now turning the final page. Mike Meeback, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Well, that's good that Edith Cook now has her identity, and now she's been officially identified and will be properly laid to rest.
And I love the fact that they took this story very seriously, and then all the way through it, they explained what had happened, and then they still delivered the paranormal punchline. I thought that was fantastic. They could have just overrolled that and just not have given any kind of credence at all, but they went back to tell us that the family has had experiences, so that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
All right, where are we off to next?
Well, Dave, it's time to get to the part of our program where we mispronounce a European name.
Awesome.
Because I can't catch enough crap on the internet.
Yes.
Yeah.
This segment is brought to you by morons.
Yes, yeah. And by Rosetta Stone. Rosetta Stone, we can't mispronounce.
I think they could sue us for trying to say that. We're
Rosetta Stone worked for me.
Not much at all.
Not really.
All right. What's the story?
Studied anything? A Kildare man has saw a ghost on I believe it's Ardclough Canal Bank.
Why not?
Yeah.
Ardclough.
Okay. Ardclough. Mm-hmm. ARDCLOUGH.
Okay, good enough. Let's
By all means, please email me and tell me what an ass I am.
Don't you know it's Ardclough?
It's Ardclough.
Yeah. We're probably closer doing that than we were anything else.
I'll just pronounce it like that.
Okay.
How's that? Two people drive beside a Kildare canal believe that they may have had a paranormal experience. Michael because that's the way it's spelled.
How many F's are in that?
It's spelled Bhlethin. I believe it's Blethin.
Mm-hmm.
Blethin. A furniture removal worker from Turnings Cross, Strafford, was driving on the canal on Saturday last week when he saw two black figures way ahead of him on the canal bank. Mr. O'Blethin was originally from the west of Ireland, which is pronounceable, and was with a young neighbor of his, a 10-year-old named Rosalind.
Now you're messing up messing up. Way to put him in his place.
Yes, I'm messing up.
Are we back on Margarita Monday?
We are. He had taken her to see the swans on the canal, or swans, as we say them here in Minnesota.
Swans.
The swans.
Oh, that's more of a Chicago thing. The swans.
Yeah, the swans down there by the canal. It was about 6:25 p.m. on a bright Saturday evening when they saw the figures. Mr. O'Blethin, who has lived in the area for about 9 years, said, "Normally I would walk, but I drove. Up in front of me, I could see figures in pure black." He estimated one figure was about 6 feet 1 inch, and the other was between 5 feet 4 inches and 5 feet 7 inches. He thought he was seeing things. He said, "I thought I was mad." But then he asked Rosalind, who was sitting in the front seat of the car, if she saw the figures. She said, "Michael, where did they go to?" The figures crossed from the edge of the water across the road and into the bushes, then prompting the joke, why did the figures cross the road? To get to the other side.
God.
Yeah, the figures looked human to both Michael and Rosalind. Mm-hmm. Initially, the figures were a long way away from Mr. O'Blethin. He could see them on the canal bank. At first, he could not make out if there were one or two figures. Next, they were close to us, he said. Two humans could not have moved that fast. Rosalind said the figures were...
Obviously, he's never seen you and I at a Chinese buffet.
That's right. I can move pretty darn quick, especially when they come out with the hot egg foo young. You don't want cold egg foo young, so you get up there quick.
That's a fact.
Yeah. Next, they were close to us. Again, those two humans could not have moved that fast, said Mr. O'Blethin. But Rosalind said the figures were walking and were coming towards the pair. One was considerably taller than the other. That's a man and his mot, M-O-T, thought Michael at first. He and Rosalind agreed that neither had a face and that they were pure black. The leader met the pair at the scene recently, and we're joined by Chris Doran, who investigates paranormal activity. I've seen things I couldn't explain, he said. He has been doing paranormal investigations for 5 or 6 years. Such a sighting could happen, he claimed. It is unusual to see such things at night, but it would be rare to see them when it was bright. I would not dismiss it. There is a rich history in the country, he said. People do believe that souls leave residual energy, but I don't know if I would subscribe to that theory. Mr. Doran said there were different explanations for people seeing things. He claimed that this is the area of the canal that is very active. He said, I used to hate coming here at night. Mr. O'Blethin said he contacted Nazgardai and the cold case team about the incident. Cold case rang me twice and took particulars, he maintained. I have contacted Father Willie Byrne from Kill with a view, not a view to a kill, Dave, but from Kill with a view. I'm hoping that you get that joke.
I do. It's a little Durin.
Yeah. To getting a mass said, I'm a Roman Catholic and proud of it. Mr. O'Blethin believes ghosts exist. I definitely believe in ghosts, he said. He has not had fears going back to the canal. He said the figures, are a couple in trouble looking for help, and that is his belief. And there you be.
Well, it's nice of him to be worried and looking into ways to fix things.
There you go.
All right. Hey, let me make a quick mention.
Sure.
We have an England trip coming up. Speaking of the UK, Tim.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to be going out to England in August. This is the adventure of a lifetime. I would love for you to join me and Neil Story as we go out and investigate the paranormal, haunted castles, crypts, and jails. We want you to join us on this. You can get information and sign up at darknessevents.com, darknessevents.com. Then click on the banner for our first wave. We already sold out our trip in September. There are some spots that remain open, and I promise you, you will make lifelong friends and have memories you will cherish forever. These trips are so much fun, always great, and I can't wait to get back out and see England. You'll be my first group, Tim. This will be these people get to pop my English cherry.
Pardon me?
Pardon me?
What?
Well, we're going to go on out there, and I've been to England twice.
Let me explain something to the group. This is the first cherry that'll be popped on Dave in God knows how many years.
Shut up.
You should feel special.
Yeah, I've been to England twice, but I haven't left the Heathrow Airport.
So
they won't allow me to. But I think I've got the right disguise this time. I'm sneaking in.
Customs will be happy.
Neil Story is willing to sign off on me, is what he said. So we'll see where that takes us. But I'm going to be going out there in August. Sign up, become a member, and go with us. Just go check it out, darknessevents.com. I want to make a quick mention, too, Tim. You and I got a chance to preview a movie.
Yes, we did.
And since we like to do these movie kind of reviews on Mondays, let's go ahead and mention this.
Sure.
I was very intrigued. You know, one of my favorite series of movies are the Alien series.
Uh-huh.
I named my daughter Ripley, for God's sakes.
Well, yeah.
Because what a freaking strong, imaginative, intelligent woman Sigourney Weaver portrays as Ellen Ripley. So when they rebooted the series a few years ago with Prometheus, this kind of innocuous title that said that it would be running in the same universe as Blade Runner and Aliens, I was intrigued. I fell asleep 3 times trying to watch that movie 3 separate times.
Yeah, I did.
It never captured my attention.
Nope.
When I heard that they were doing a sequel, I thought, well, you're smart this time because you've dropped the Prometheus name and you're naming it Aliens Covenant.
Right.
And I thought, okay, this, and the commercials look great.
Yeah, they do.
The aliens look really creepy in this.
Yeah.
So I was excited to go see this movie. Opens up nationwide, I believe, in a week.
19th, I think.
Yeah, the 19th. And so I went into this open-minded, knowing it would be an Aliens without Ripley. Mm-hmm. I like Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
I wanted to see where this would go. Alien Covenant. They've sent a ship off to colonize a new planet that they found is habitable. Mm-hmm. And on their way there, they, through a series of mishaps, the ship is awoken. All the people on board are brought out of stasis, and they have to decide how to get around, and they find another planet closer that happens to be sending a signal. So they go check it out, and aliens ensue. This movie would have been more aptly titled Aliens, The Age of Ultron. I liked it. If you've seen the Avengers of Age of Ultron, you'll understand once you see this movie. I liked Alien Covenant. Mm-hmm. I thought it was an interesting movie, but I thought that they used a lot of cliches. They used a lot of tried and true kind of characterizations.
Okay.
And the main girl in this one, the main woman, I should say.
Yes.
I'm so glad to see that somebody was strong enough to resurrect the Joey Lawrence hairdos from the early 1980s.
Right.
Not like his cool Blossom, George Michael do, but his original mushroom head look from it was before he woed anybody. So that was interesting. I liked it. I think it was good. I thought it was a great breakaway from Prometheus, and I thought it was a really interesting reconnect to the Alien series. And the one complaint I heard was people are like, oh, the aliens weren't scary enough. Well, that's because we already know about them.
Yeah.
And it's hard to hide that and give you that vibe again, but there's a new twist to the mythos.
Yes, there is.
And I thought that was pretty good and inventive. So overall, out of 5 stars, I will give the Aliens Age of Ultron, I will give it 3.5 stars. I would have gone 4, but the unoriginality and the predictability of the movie got to me a little bit. But overall, I enjoyed it. 3.5 out of 5 stars.
For the most part, I agree with you, but I'm going to give it a lower rating because
that's what you do.
Wow.
Well, I know you're a lot.
No,
well, you live up to it. It's not a stereotype, son. You're just more harsh than I am.
Well, it's. I think I'm more fair with these movies. It's
harsh, fair, whatever.
It's it does lag in quite a few places as well. And I think if you're a fan of the Prometheus movie, you'll like this movie a lot more than some other people will. I would throw that out there.
Well, right, because this is so much better than Prometheus.
Not necessarily that, but the ties to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not a fan of the Prometheus movie, this may drag a bit for you. I'll put that.
You thought this movie was slow? Dude, Prometheus was brutally slow.
No, I know. I've seen Prometheus.
God, Prometheus was like licking carpet. It was so slow and tedious.
But I did think at times this movie had its lag points, and it was...
Yeah. Well, that's Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott always tries to make things more arty than they need to be.
Right. And in this too, like you said, no great surprises, but there are some creative ways in which he ties the universes together.
Right.
And that's what gets him some style points in the movie and actually makes it a much better movie than it potentially could have been.
Right.
This could have potentially fallen flat on its face.
Mm-hmm.
It has that feeling like, oh gosh, we're going into that territory where this could fall flat on its face. He manages to pull it out. And at the end of the movie, you come out of it going, and that's about it. You go, I didn't waste my time.
Right.
Which is not how which is not how you should come out of this movie. But that's how you come out of the movie. So I would say probably for me, I'm going to be generous with it and give it a 3. Okay. I really came out of it thinking maybe a 2.5, but I came out of it giving it a 3 because of some of the original points that he did give the storyline and the original way he tied everything together.
It'll be interesting to see when they come back with the next one, because I think I've read that this is supposed to be the beginning of a new trilogy.
Right, and they are already in pre-production with the next one.
I'd be fascinated to see where it goes. I love this universe. I love this world. As scary as it is, I love the concept of this, and I'm looking to see what happens, and I'm wondering if they're going to handle this kind of like the new Planet of the Apes movies, where they're not disavowing the classic movies we grew up on. They're telling the backstory to how we got to that point, and they're going to leave it at that. I wonder if this is what's going to end up with the last scene of the new 3-part movie being the Nostromo with Sigourney aboard.
Right.
They've gotten so far with special effects enabling to enabling, is that a word?
Enable
the ability to de-age celebrities and make it not look like a rubber mask. Mm-hmm. I think they could do that and reintroduce her and many of the characters.
Now, here's my question. I'll throw this out to you because I know how I feel about it. You've got movies like Rogue One. You've already thrown out the possibility with the Alien franchise. And it could be argued that you could do this with other franchises like Planet of the Apes. We're getting into this disturbing trend where Hollywood is going, you know what? We don't seem to have any new ground we're treading. Let's go to the prequel and show everybody what happened before we got to these actual franchises. Is it anticlimactic? Are we at this point now where, if we show you everything beforehand, you already have this storyline out there, this established classic storyline that everyone's fallen in love with. By screwing with the mythos beforehand, really, is there much of a story to be told? Can you make it exciting? Because what you've done with Star Wars now, everybody kind of crapped all over the first 3 movies, and Rogue One kind of.
I think Rogue One redeemed themselves beautifully.
Redeemed it,
right?
But in that, they had to do something to tie the first 3 to 4, 5, and 6, and they did a decent job of doing so,
right?
What if Rogue One falls on its face? Then you've got 4 movies that crap on 3.
I think what's good is Disney has taken the reins on these movies, Marvel movies and Star Wars, and I think they get their fan base. Mm-hmm. That's why I think Rogue One and the new movie took off so well, because I think they knew what people want to see, and I think they gave a good story that was a good standalone movie. So whether you want to include it in canon or not, whether you want to watch it or not, you don't miss anything. You just gain something by checking it out. I think that's where they went with Rogue One. In the case where you have stories that are beautifully crafted, like The Wizard of Oz, to remake The Wizard of Oz, stupid. There's no way to justify overdoing the beauty of the concept that Judy Garland and the original cast and crew did.
Yeah.
To come back and tell a prequel like Sam Raimi did a few years ago, The Great and Powerful Oz, was awesome. And it doesn't screw with the story. Yes, we still know where it's going, but it allows us to revisit a place we love to see and that we were fascinated by, and realize that it's much more than just one girl character that was fascinating about where we went. And I think that's what's nice with the Star Wars stories. You can go back and tell us some prequels because people are fascinated. How did Han Solo get to be this way? How did they get the plans off of, the Death Star and to the Republic. I think there's some great storylines on that. And prequels, we've seen them go horribly wrong, like the original 3 Star Wars movies did, right? When he came back with those, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Rise of the Sith, right? Or whatever it was. He went into it with the wrong concept. He wasn't worried about fans. He was worried about himself, I think, is where he falls down, George Lucas. And I think the movie company right now really has an idea of the concept of what people want to see. Because I don't think they're wasting any footage doing this. A perfect example is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I could care less about these characters when they announced that they were going to do a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And I thought, oh my God, why? Why? None of that comic ever appealed to me.
No, it didn't appeal to very many people.
The movie was phenomenal. The second movie is, I would put equally as good as the first, which is a hard task to do in a sequel. Mm-hmm. And especially when you've already got it. But I think that was really well done. And there's another example where they de-age Kurt Russell's character. And it was kind of fun to watch him look like he did in 1970s, right?
Yeah.
And it was a neat deal. So I'm all for, the idea of using the de-aging process and kind of giving us a taste of the original and hooking it in. Do I think that it detracts from the new or, the classic movies by having that? No, because they had a unique and individual way of starting the story that we never got before. How did the apes get to the point where they could talk? And they kind of tried to loop that in with the original series. Mm-hmm. But again, they were trying to cash in on a franchise and they lost their way in that series. This new series of Planet of the Apes, I thought, recaptures that. And I love the fact that they've had that underlying thread behind it all that, remember, in the very first new Planet of the Apes, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I think it was.
Yep.
The very first one, you hear that the Icarus or whatever the shuttle was that the original astronauts were in vanished during that first movie. Mm-hmm. So they're already setting up the future.
Right.
I would be intrigued, and with the way they've done it so well, I would not mind them remaking Planet of the Apes. Once they do this, once they break this first 3 and then kind of reintroduce the next series, I think it'd be fun to see them take it to a Back to the Future cyclical loop and see where it goes. But in some cases, no. I think if you have a good creative way to revisit, and the aliens is, are they just dumb animals, or are they a superior race of beings who take over and colonize planets and take over this structure of them? That was fascinating to me. So I like that they're kind of giving us an idea of what these things are. And are they alien or are they a disease, which is almost what it feels like when you see this new movie, right?
Right.
And I think that's fascinating. So yes, I'm cool with them doing prequels like this and really bringing movies back. And I just slipped in that quick little note for Guardians of the Galaxy. I gave that a solid 4.5 out of 5 stars.
I thought it was good.
Volume 2.
I've heard a lot of people complaining about the sequel, and I don't know
get
why.
it. No, that's why I said I'm giving it a solid 4.5 out of 5 stars, only because I thought they get a little too schmaltzy with the family aspect of it, but I got where they were going. But overall, I laughed. I got choked up. I thought it was such a well-crafted and beautiful movie that I care about these characters in the way I cared about Luke and Leia and Han and Chewie and Ben in the first Star Wars movies, which is great. I love that they reawakened that in me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with that. But that's me rambling. All right, let's go. We got a couple more. What Guardians of the Galaxy, what rating do you give it out of 5 stars?
I give it a 4 out of 5. I think it's more imaginative, and there's a lot more effects than there were in the first one, because obviously they were in uncharted territory with the first one. And they've improved a little bit on the formula and on the relationships. There are 1 or 2 missteps, and again, we won't get into the 1 or 2 little missteps in there, but I thought the way they advanced the characters was very good.
Right.
So I'd say 4 out of 5. I still don't think it's better than what Marvel had done with Avengers. I still think Avengers is the perfect superhero movie.
Yeah. But Guardians of the Galaxy is I think it transcends it. It gives you the superhero movie. It gives you the sci-fi movie. Mm-hmm. I think they've really melded those two worlds well.
Yeah.
All right, we've got some more stories. What have we got next?
We go to the land of music, where Alice Cooper, when he's not playing golf, has confirmed that he's going to release a brand new album called Paranormal, of all things.
Alice is going to be in town. We should try to have him on the show.
He is. He's going to be playing the casino circuit here in Minnesota. He'll be releasing his brand new 2-disc studio album. It'll be entitled Paranormal on July 28th via his just inked deal with Ear Music. The new album will be Cooper's first new studio release in 6 years and will include a bonus mini album featuring 3 brand new songs and live tracks from the original Alice Cooper band lineup of Dennis Dunaway, Neil Smith, and Michael Bruce. Cooper once again teamed up with legendary producer Bob Ezrin for this new effort, which was recorded in Nashville. The album will also feature some guest appearances from U2's Larry Mullen Jr., ZZ Top's Billy Gibbons, and Deep Purple's Roger Glover. Ear Music will be releasing Paranormal in various formats, including digitally, a 2-disc CD digipack, a double vinyl edition, as well as a special limited edition box set.
Let's do this. Let's go to a quick break. Okay. We'll come back. We've got some more supernatural news. We've also got Perisher heading your way. We'll be back with more right after this.
Beyond the darkness.
All right, we're back. This is Beyond the Darkness. It's a supernatural news and Parashare Monday. We've got a couple more stories from the news to cover, and then we'll dip deeply into our email bag, Tim, here and see what people have to share with us recently.
Sounds good.
All right, what have you got for us in the world of supernatural news to round it out?
We go to Mineral Wells, Texas, Dave, where, everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, but I have a lot of people who contact me. I know they contact you as well, and they say Tim or Dave. They don't call me Dave, obviously. Well, I shouldn't say that. Some people do call me Dave, and then I look at them funny, and I go, what?
Better than them calling you Dennis, like usual.
They do that, too.
Yeah.
By the way, you're not my football coach. Stop calling me Dennis, all right? They say, you know what? I'm kind of looking at buying a haunted property. And I say, why on God's green earth would you do that? And here's the common misconception, Dave. A lot of people think it's going to up their value. Their
It's not, you're saying?
It's not.
Okay.
No, it doesn't do anything for your property value to a haunted home, first of all. 2, they think, well, it'd be really cool to live in a haunted house.
Right. I could see that.
No.
No, it's not?
No. Oh. It's kind of like saying, I'd like to live at the zoo.
I would like to live at the zoo in the monkey area.
Well, I'd like to live with the monkeys, too. By the way, I got to say a special happy birthday.
Okay.
Our friend Frankie the monkey. It was his birthday on this past weekend.
From Intrigue Theater?
Yeah.
Oh, well, happy birthday, Frankie.
It was his birthday. So.
All right.
Happy birthday, Frankie. Hope you got lots of treats.
Okay, so what's going on? A haunted house. I still think people would be interested, and I think it would affect the value, but I also did some research on this story, so go ahead and we'll talk about it.
A 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in the heart of historic Mineral Wells, I believe this is in Texas, may remain occupied by its current tenants long after it's sold. For $125,000, all 2,800 square feet can be yours. That is, if you don't mind sharing the space with its inhabitants. According to the property owner, Phil Kirchhoff, as many as 9 spirits call it home. When we bought the house, we had no idea it was haunted. I wasn't involved in the paranormal at that point. The neighbors all started talking about it, and they started telling us stories, Kirchhoff told KRLD AM last October. The home sits in the shadow of the historic Baker Hotel. It's about a block and a half away. Now, Becky Foley with Source One Real Estate says this is her most unique listing to date. She herself doesn't delve into the paranormal, but confesses to witnessing some odd occurrences. A client got literally nauseously ill, she went on to say, and thought she was going to pass out and ran out. She kept saying, I can't go back in there. Something hit me the moment you opened the door. I cannot go back in there. Kirchhoff told Foley that's not unusual. He says the spirits do not want some people in this house, and they'll chase them out. The home's many living spaces are furnished with relics from different eras. Lone toy carousels and stuffed animals eerily sit on the floorboards. The cute little trinkets belong to the people who live here, said Foley. At one point, the home had 3 bathrooms. This is actually a bathroom that got sealed up, and no one knows why, said Foley. It does come equipped with a unique safety feature, what looks to be burglar bars on the inside of the home.
Okay.
We heard it could have been a brothel. We wonder if some of the people were maybe kept against their will, hence the bars. We really don't know, says Foley. Though it has been appraised at just over $26,000, Foley explains its $125,000 price tag.
I want you to realize that's $99,000 over what it's been appraised.
Reflects the business opportunity that resides there. Now, I know a little something about real estate. I'll tell you something in a second. Currently, the home attracts brave souls interested in investigating paranormal activity. On weekends, groups explore the house and often share their findings with a community of enthusiasts on the Haunted Hill House's Facebook page. Tours are booked through September. The owner does not live on the grounds. Foley says the right buyer will embrace his passion for the property. His hope is whoever takes and buys it will have the love for what he loves. I think it will make a cool bed and breakfast. We'll just have to see what its future holds. Now, Dave, here's the thing. It's been appraised at $26,000.
Right.
Which means
that's the only amount you'll ever get a loan for.
That's right.
Right.
Because Foley has said, and here's the key phrase here, that the business opportunity resides there, and he's hoping that an owner will come along and pay $125,000. Right. A bank will not loan you $125,000 on something that's been appraised for $26,000. They will loan you $26,000
right.
to buy that property.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's a tough call because I did look into that. I've got a buddy of mine who's been looking for haunted properties, and I saw this one. I'm like, hey, you live in Texas, and it's got that quintessential look at it. It's got that haunted house look. It's got that perfect kind of haunted house, creepy ass appearance, right? But you just can't rectify the pricing.
Yeah, and this is
$99,000 over what he's expecting. And you have to ask too, before you get suckered into a deal like this, you have to check and make sure that you're zoned properly and that you can do tours and you can do things in your area that allow this to happen. Otherwise, you could be really hurting for certain.
If you're not zoned commercial or don't have the ability to get zoned commercial, you can't open it up to be a bed and breakfast, or you can't open it up to tours or do some of the things that you want to do. So, yeah, like Dave said, you got to be careful if you do buy a property like this and want to try to turn something like that or turn profit on something like that.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up and go classy and go big, Tim, as we finalize our supernatural news for the day.
Go what?
Classy, Tim. This is a religious story about a very important moment in a man's life when he felt as though the Lord reached out and spoke to him, Tim. Well, how could it be anything but impactful and supernatural?
It is impactful.
And classy, son.
Well,
classy.
I don't know about classy.
What's it say?
Dave, when you see somebody saying, oh, God, oh, yes, oh, God, they're not necessarily praying.
Really?
Well,
okay.
A Florida man exposed more than his faith inside church on Wednesday. According to the Sebastian Daily, Christopher James Fry, 48, that's years old, folks, was attending church service at the Central Assembly of God in Vero Beach on Wednesday.
Yes.
When he walked to the church's front stage. And he didn't exactly testify.
Well, I kind of think he did.
He put on an unexpected show, though.
Puppet show?
Kind of.
Okay, what happened?
Witnesses tell the Sebastian Daily that Fry pulled down his pants and displayed his genitals in front of a crowd of 39 before a group of men attending the service ran to the front and got him to put his pants back on and leave.
That gives the term holy balls a whole new meaning.
Yes, it does. Yeah. When questioned why he exposed himself, Fry told the authorities, the Lord told me to do it.
Do you think Jesus was like prank calling him? Does Jesus get bored in heaven? He's like, come here,
Christopher.
I'm going to call this guy.
CJ, can I call you CJ?
Yeah.
Here's the deal. You have a wonderful looking scrotum.
You should show it to everyone. Show them the beauty that my dad created.
You know how we could get more money in the collection plate?
Ooh.
If you showed them the Crown Royal bag you call your scroped.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was arrested, charged with exposure of sexual organs and disorderly conduct and taken to Indian River County Jail. That's all we have on that story. Old CJ Fry, 48, arrested for showing the goodie bag.
Here's the deal, folks.
To the kids.
If the Lord were ever to call upon you, and they were, the Lord himself was to say to you, hey, you should kill someone, or hey, show everybody your junk. Pretty good sign it's not God.
It's not?
No. So just take a tip from your buddies here at Beyond the Darkness. When the Lord offers you to hurt someone or be nude in his defense, don't do it.
What if, now this is the alternate scenario, what if a voice comes to you from heaven and says, I need you to kill somebody with your junk?
No, Tim, that would be the worst case scenario. Don't do that.
Okay.
All right, I'm glad we got that little PSA out of the way. Let's dip into the email bag here, Tim, and see what we've got to share on Parashare. Hey, Dave Tango and Tim Cash. Oh, boy, 80s reference there, huh? I know, lame header. I was away on vacation for a while, and having been catching up on your show, when I heard you read my personal experience email about my sleep paralysis shadow person encounter. Afterward, you started talking about the dream you had recently about your mom, and that caused me to remember a dream I had back in 2008. I was really close to my grandparents on my mom's side and even lived with one of them for a period during high school. In 2003, my grandmother died, and as expected, it was devastating to my family, but no more than my grandfather and me. Well, one night 5 years later, I had a dream about the hallway of the house my mom lived in at the time. It was a rather long hallway, about 20 to 25 feet from the dining room to the front door with a flat wall on the left side and 3 doors on the right, leading to the bedrooms and a bathroom. 2 of the doors were set in a bit, about 3 feet, to create a slight indentation in the hall. There was no windows in the hallway, so when the front door is closed and the light is off, it's very dark. In the dream, it was the exact same way, and this time it wasn't blurry or hazy, it was very clear. When it started, I was in the living room and saw the hallway was illuminated. As I started walking down it, I noticed the front door was open and it was daytime out. As I got to that part of the hallway with the indentation, I noticed 2 people standing there. I looked and saw it was my grandmother and my grandfather. He was standing right next to her and had his arm around her, holding her lovingly, and they were both smiling at me. He was dressed in a gray suit and she was in a white dress. It was at this point that I noticed they didn't look like they did last time I saw them. They were very young looking. They looked exactly like pictures I had seen from when they graduated high school. My grandfather, very dashing, and my grandmother, extremely pretty. Later that morning when I woke up, I found my mom at the dining room table in tears. She had gotten a call from her sister a few hours prior that my grandfather had passed away in his sleep. I couldn't help but think that was him telling me he was finally reunited with the love of his life and that they were both okay. While we were extremely saddened by his loss, I took a great comfort thinking of my dream, hoping that it was him coming to say, it's okay, we're all right. Thanks so much for everything you guys do. Tim is in my prayers for a clean bill of health, and you're both in my prayers for continued success with Podcast One. Love from Houston. That's Chris. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Very cool story. Hi, Dave and Tim. Hey, that's us.
Yeah.
This is Matt from Texas. Sorry to hear about your mom. My condolences. I know that what you're going through, my mom fought cancer for 5 years before she passed. She was my best friend. Well, speaking of my mom, she was a paranormal magnet, in my opinion. One of her first stories involved my mom and my aunt, and I think her 3 kids. My mom had expressed to her that she wanted to play on the Ouija board, so my aunt was a little hesitant. She had to goad my aunt, and my mom had told my aunt that she wasn't scared. She would sell her soul for 2 pennies for as much as she cared. So they got the Ouija board out and started to play. They immediately got an entity who claimed to be a warlock. My mom, being very bold, asked where he was at. That very moment, there were 3 raps at the door. My mom and aunt looked out of the window and saw no one at the door, but a thick fog had moved in from what had been a very clear and fogless night. They opened the door for a better look, and nothing was there. A little unnerved, but not giving up, they kept playing until my mom asked the warlock where he would be staying that night. That's when he answered that he would be staying under the bed. So Mom, having enough, took the board, opened a closet in the house, and slammed it shut. After that, they decided to call it a night, so they went to bed. Later that night, as my mom slept, she was awakened by a noise under her bed. As she looked underneath, she saw the Ouija board centered there. She ran to my aunt's bed in the attic. My mom, my aunt, and her children were now all together in a bed. As they were sitting in there, Mom's niece asked about the policeman that was standing in the stairwell light by the light in the hall. My mom said it looked like a man with long hair past his shoulders, but all you could see was his outline. as it was completely black, darker than the darkness around it. So my mom told everyone to just start praying the Lord's Prayer, and they did until it finally went away. My mom, after getting married to her first husband, moved into a house in Galveston, Texas. He worked running the docks, so he was away a lot. The house was built with the front door being right in the front of the second-story stairs. It also had double doors that opened into a living room from the dining room. She said she had heard the house had once been a bordello, but that might have just been a rumor. Now, she said sometimes you could hear someone come through the front door and go running up the stairs, but when you checked, there was no one there. She also said at a certain time the double doors would open by themselves, and it was almost at the same time every night. Sometimes, she said, you could hear a baby crying. Other times, the toilet would flush all by itself. The toilet, she said, was an old-fashioned one with a pull string handle and the tank above it. She said sometimes the house was filled with a thick fog. She would try to tell her husband, but he would just say it was nothing. Well, my mom hated being by herself. So when her husband was gone, she would invite my aunts to stay with her. So my aunt was staying the night with her kids, and my mom's husband had gotten a gong from some country and put it in the living room. Well, eventually, my mom woke to some commotion outside early that morning. My aunt was packing up her and her kids. My mom was asking what had happened. My aunt said she was laying in her bed trying to sleep when she would hear the gong go off, and it would do that every time she was about to go to sleep. Now, another of my aunts had brought a dog, and when it came in the house, it immediately ran into a bedroom and hid under the bed. Even when they stuck a broom there and tried to shoo it out, it started to attack the broom. When another of my aunts was staying the night, something had come into her room and had said, Mommy, thinking it was one of her kids. She pulled the lights, and the lights in the room came on, and there was no kid in sight. I think the same aunt had also had one of her little girls talking about kids other than hers that wanted to play with them at night. Then, when my oldest brother was born, Mom said he had a birthmark of a skeleton key on his left shoulder. My mom, always wanting a baby close, slept with the bassinet right next to her bed. During the night, she said the fog had come in the house again, and in between the bassinet and my mom's bed was a Rottweiler with glowing red eyes sitting there, growling. For the record, Tim?
Yes.
That's never a good sign.
No.
When you've got a big Rottweiler in between you and the baby, and it's
right.
and it's got glowing red eyes.
Yeah.
Time to sacrifice the baby.
I think so.
I'm going to say, push the bassinet over and run.
Make the baby a dog treat.
She said eventually a voice had said if she didn't get out, it was going to burn the house down. She tried to talk her husband into moving while he was making a sandwich one day when he was home and was having trouble convincing him. He was reaching for some mustard, and it slid all the way across the table. They moved. So my mom moves to East Texas, where she lived in an old road where moonshiners used to run moonshine. When Mom was still alive, she could hear a car pull up to the house and a door slam, look outside, and no car. We used to call it the ghost car. That's all her stories. Hope these get read and maybe scare somebody. She would enjoy that. Love y'all. Keep doing what you're doing. And that comes from Matthew. Thank you, Matthew. We appreciate sharing your mom's stories with us. Hey, Dave and Tim.
Hey,
that's us again. Just wanted to let you know how much I've been enjoying your show since discovering it earlier this year. I listen in my car on the way and to and from work, and it makes the journey all the better. Now, I'm a particular fan of ghost shows, especially when you have guests taking a particularly scientific approach to investigations. Hopefully, it'll eventually end the taboo among mainstream science, and maybe some recognized progress will be made. I also love the cryptid episodes, particularly Bigfoot Sasquatch. I believe I had one paranormal experience before, although probably not substantial enough for Parashare, but I was about 10 years old, which was before I had any sort of interest in the paranormal. I was sitting upstairs in my house playing a game on the PlayStation, and my dad, the only other person in the house, while playing my game, I heard a whisper which seemed to be coming from about 5 feet to the side of me, saying, Jamie. I immediately paused the game and listened for a second for anyone on the stairs who might be playing a prank on me. Two things discounted this for me. My dad had never been the type to play pranks, and also I walked out of the room and looked down the stairs. There was no one there, and the door at the bottom of the stairs was closed. I would have heard someone coming up the creaky stairs of our 100-plus-year-old house, and I also would have heard the door shut. Now, having just decided that I was hearing things, I continued to play the game. About 10 seconds later, I heard the same voice, a little louder this time, say, come here. This time, I was able to hear that it was a female voice. Once again, I immediately checked the stairs and saw nothing. Needless to say, I turned the game off, came downstairs just so I could be near someone. I didn't tell anyone about this experience and still, until now, never have. We've since moved out of that house, which is a shame because having the interests I do now, around 18 years later, I could have done some sort of investigating myself to see if I could gather any more evidence. Keep up the good work, guys, and I hope I can meet you if you come back over to Scotland. And that comes from Jamie. Oh, so I botched the whole accent. Should have been, Jamie, come here, you little bastard.
Yeah, that's more appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, Dave and Tim.
Hi.
I like the way these are going.
Mm-hmm.
Great show as always. My dad was a trucker for many years and never had a shortage of stories of things he had seen while on the road. One story he repeated a lot and swore was true was that of the black dog. He explained it was the biggest effing dog he had ever seen and that it had darted out in front of him one night. He told me he did not know how he did not hit it. Just a few miles down the road, he was in an accident, and him and the person that swerved off the exit in front of him were injured. He said if you ever see that dog, pull over as soon as possible. Nothing good would come out of it if you keep going. Come to find out, the black dog was a common story for truckers all over the U.S., and they are all similar to my dad's story. Pardon me. Fast forward about 7 years, I followed in my dad's footsteps and was driving. I was driving in Robbinsville, North Carolina, training a guy named Jacob on my route. It was about 1 or 2 in the morning. We were on our way to our last stop. We were talking and listening to the radio. The road we were on was pretty curvy, so I focused on what was in front of me. Out of nowhere, this animal comes out of the woods, darts in front of the truck. It was moving so fast I couldn't tell what it was. I slowed down thinking I'm going to hit it, but it disappeared into the woods on the opposite side of the road. That's when Jacob explained that he had just seen the biggest black dog he had ever seen. My heart skipped a beat, and I began easing the truck off the road. I had to explain to him why I was pulling over. He laughed at me and told me I was just an old trucker, or it was just an old trucker story. Well, you can believe what you want, but as for me, I'm staying right here for a bit, I told him. Jacob swore it was a dog, and it had to be the biggest dog he'd ever seen, mastiff size or bigger. We sat there for 20 minutes or so. I got myself calmed down, and we headed back out. My radio went off. There was a wreck about 15 to 20 miles from us. A car had went around a corner too fast, went into the lane, hit the guardrail. Jacob and I just stared at each other. Do you believe me now? I asked him. He sat there quiet for a few moments, then apologized for laughing. Maybe coincidence? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure if I hadn't stopped because of that, we would have been in an accident. Just goes to show those old trucker stories, as he put it, may hold some truth after all. Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work. And that comes from Daniel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just jot that down here. Do not become an over-the-road trucker either. Okay. I've added to my list of more things I will never do.
Otherwise, you will have material for a Led Zeppelin song.
Yes. Hi, Dapper Dave and Fantastic Tim.
Hi.
Just a little experience. When I was in the Navy back in 1988, hope you like it, wrote it so you could use it for a theater of the mind. We'll be the judge of that.
Uh-huh.
Shall we try this theater of the mind style, Tim?
Sure.
See if I can get through it in one whole deal without a stumble.
All right.
I doubt it.
Okay.
Back in the late 80s, I was in the Navy and lived aboard the ship. I noticed some of the guys in my shop hanging out more and more on the ship and not in town, where I knew he shared a house with some mutual friends. One evening, I saw him on the mess deck. Hey, man, I asked as I sat next to him, why are you hanging out on board and not at home? You and the guys getting on each other's nerves? Nah, he said, we're good. Just don't want to be there, you know? Wanting to live in town and not on the ship, I didn't get it, so I pressed him some more. Dude, if I were you, I'd beat feet out of here as soon as I heard Liberty call. What's the deal? He was quiet and just moved his food on the plate for a bit, then started telling me a tale that I could visibly see had shaken him to the core. We were getting wasted last weekend, he said, and one of these guys got this bright idea of playing with a Ouija board. I really wasn't into it because you and I, we grew up in a Christian household, and you just don't screw with that type of thing, right? Anyway, we turned off the lights, lit a single candle, placed it on the coffee table along with the board, and placed our fingers on the planchette. So Gary asked if there was anyone listening, and being drunk off our asses, we started laughing. Suddenly the planchette moved to yes. After some minutes of accusing each other of moving it, we settled down and started asking questions. Who are you? Do you have a name? The planchette spelled out K-A-L-E-B. Screw you guys. This is stupid. I'm out, I told them, and I went to my room. I didn't want any part of this. He was quiet for a while and then continued with the story. His voice was low and had a slight shake to it. I laid in my bed and started to read when something tore the book out of my hand and flung it at the closed bedroom door. I laid there, paralyzed with fear, but all I could think of was to run out of there. Run out of the house, be anywhere but in that room. Then I felt something trying to yank me off my bed. Pulling on my legs real hard, I curled up like a baby and started yelling, "Leave me alone! Leave me alone!" Next thing I know, the guys are busting through the door asking me what happened. I told them and they just stared at me like I was crazy. I got some of my stuff and came back to the ship that night and haven't been back since. He looked at me and I could see fear in his eyes. I could see he believed it really happened to him. In my opinion, it was a drunken nightmare and a chance to move off the ship for me. I sat quietly with him and asked if he wanted me to get the rest of his gear and bring it back to him. He said sure, and I could have his room if the guys were okay with it. The next weekend, I was moving into his room and packing his stuff up. As I was getting my stuff into the house and his stuff out, I noticed a cute little boy sitting on the steps at the house across the street. I smiled and waved. He just smiled back. I grabbed a box and turned towards him, about to ask him if he wanted to help, but he was gone. Kind of weird, but who can tell with little kids? There one minute, off to do something else the next. The room was down the hall on the left, and even though it had a great big window that let in a lot of sunshine, it had a weird feel to it, cold, and I felt like I was being watched. I chalked that up to the air conditioner running, but decided to smudge the room, get rid of any bad vibes hanging around. I visualized a protective circle of light and started smudging my new room. I heard a soft giggle, and a little blonde head peeked in from the door. It was the little boy I had just seen across the street. "Hi," I said. "I'm Iris. What's your name?" Again, he smiled, but this time felt a bit predatory. And I had this gut feeling to not invite him into the room. I continued smudging, and when I turned back to the door, he was gone. This time, I felt a bit of unease, but I had some unpacking to do and threw myself into my work. Later that afternoon, I walked out of the living room, and my roommates tossed me a beer. We just sat, drank, and chatted for a bit. One of the guys asked me if I was all moved in and unpacked. I said, yeah, and then asked him, "Who's the creepy, cute blonde kid in overalls?" Both guys paled. They looked at each other. I heard that quiet giggle again, and this time it chilled me to the bone. After what felt like an eternal silence, one of them said, "That's Caleb." Thanks for reading my ghostly tale, and that comes from Iris. That's a good one, Iris.
Mm-hmm.
Creepy. Burn the house down. Burn it! Tim, that's what I got to say. Burn the house down. All right, we got time for one more story?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. Hi, Dave and Tim. I love your show and listen to it most mornings. The app is awesome. I want to thank you for giving me hours of free entertainment. It is always much appreciated. I shared a story with you once before about my childhood home and the green glowing light outside my window, as well as the time I was home alone as a teenager, and I'm fairly certain a Bigfoot came into my house. Well, I have another story for you from my current apartment. The city I live in was founded 100 years ago, and many of the buildings in downtown are known to be haunted. In fact, Victoria has a reputation as the most haunted city in British Columbia. Our building was built in the 1960s. It's a 3-floor walk-up near the heart of the downtown area. This building has seen many tenants come and go through the years, and it's safe to assume some of them have died there. Now, over the last 2 years that my husband and I have occupied our 1-bedroom suite, there have been many weird incidents. One night, I was making rice to go with dinner, but I couldn't find my scoop measure for the rice. I looked in all the usual places and started cursing my husband that he must have put it somewhere weird, like the pasta cupboard. I turned away from the empty countertop and leaned against it for a second to try and think where he may have hidden it. When I turned back around, it was sitting in the middle of the counter. I was stunned. I just stammered out well, thank you, and continued making dinner while trying to rationalize what just happened. A few months went by without anything happening, and until another night I was home alone. I was on the couch watching Netflix when a grocery bag at the very back of the shelf behind a cooler came flying off onto the ground. I heard it move and hit the ground. I again was stunned, but just kept watching TV, trying to ignore it. A week later, I was laying in bed, waiting for my husband to brush his teeth and browsing up on my phone. I heard a rustle from the closet and looked up. Just then, something smacked my mattress hard. It's like when you slap your hand down hard on a surface, but it was near my head and there was nothing there. I jumped up and ran to the bathroom to tell my husband just not to be alone in that room. Well, 2 months ago, I was doing my makeup in the morning before work, listening to Beyond the Darkness. As I was sitting, my vanity things started falling off the shelves in my kitchen. First, it was some cans of hot chocolate powder and instant coffee. I again tried to ignore it, just kept getting ready for the day. Next, my protein shake started flying off the shelf, one after another. It would stop for a second, and then bam, another one would fly off the shelf, and another. Finally, I was so freaked out, I screamed, "Jesus Christ!" And it stopped. I hurried the rest of my morning and got out of that house as fast as I could. Finally, 2 weeks ago, I had a friend visiting for a few days. We were laughing and talking and watching the new Disney movie Moana. I had forgotten to turn on the fan I have next to my window to circulate air in the apartment because I vape. I looked up at the fan and it turned on by itself. My friend noticed too and was freaked out. I told her to ignore it and later related all of what had been happening when we went out for a walk. I don't like to talk about it in the apartment because I feel it gets more intense when I do. I sometimes see dark shadows moving from the corner of my eye. It's pretty unsettling. Sometimes I feel like I'm being watched, and that freaks me out too. I'll probably do smudging soon, but I have to remove the batteries from my smoke alarm first, or have to explain to the fire department that my apartment is haunted and I'm chasing out a ghost. That's all that's happened so far, but if anything else really crazy happens, I'll let you know. Hope you guys are feeling better. Tim, I always miss your funny self when you aren't running commentary on supernatural news. Take care, guys. And that comes from Olivia. Well, thank you, Olivia. It's very nice. We appreciate that. Well, that's it for tonight. We're wrapping up another Parashare Supernatural News. We'll be back tomorrow when we're joined by Raven of the WWE. He's going to come in and talk with us about conspiracies, Tim.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about a myriad of different conspiracies. This guy's got a lot of interesting points and some really different perspectives. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Tomorrow also is True Crime Tuesday, and the topic is Lords of the Harvest, a true crime investigative memoir. And this woman, T.A. Powell, has put together a fascinating portrait of serial killers that I think everybody should hear about. There's a lot of information we try to cover in this 2-hour span, but it's well worth the listen. Then on Wednesday, Paul Adams will join us. He's going to discuss his book, The Enigma of Rosalie, Harry Price's paranormal mystery revisited, about a strange little girl ghost that seemed to be haunting this home. And Paul Adams wrote this book after doing intensive research on the subject and looking into Harry Price's personal notes and anecdotes, and it's a great story. Nick Redfern joins us on Thursday as we talk about secret societies, and on Friday we have Avia Bell Moon. We'll talk about her book Spiritland, The Ghosts of California's Central Coast, and hear some of her very strange paranormal encounters. We'll do that all this week. Again, we want to thank our sponsors. We've got Birch Gold Group. Make sure you check that out and get your free information. Visit birchgoldgroup.com/darkness. We also want to thank True Car, good friend of the show, always here to help us out. Check out True Car when you're in the market to buy a new or previously owned vehicle. For Tim Dennis, I'm Dave Schrader. Thank you for spending your evening with us. We'll be back again with you tomorrow here on Beyond the Darkness.